The Tempest. 3. Night at the library. 41st of the primordial moon. It's looking pretty stormy out there, Renu. I should make sure to keep the windows closed. Good morning, Orlander. Morning. What's going on out there? Great question. Are you going to answer it? Storm's pretty bad. Right, and... Orlander, you still with me? Sorry, long night and a bad headache. Could I maybe get a coffee? I don't think more coffee is what you need. How about something for that headache of yours? Maybe a tincture to soothe your mind a bit? Sure, I'll take that. Alright, what do you need? Something with... So yeah, not quite enough for the coffee. I believe that's my only drink that does have... Oh, well, you have Peak Sunrise or Silent Owl. Let's do Peak Sunrise again. We could do it with a nice little sunflower. What's that? So we'd have 1... And then 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Andu. The gentlest cure for headaches I have to offer. Thanks. I feel soothed. Want to try telling me about the storm again? Fine. I guess I owe it to you. Quite frankly, it's a nightmare. The storm is causing an alarming number of people to get lost. On one side, you have adventurers who think now is a great time to look for treasure or personal fulfillment. Some of them even want to fight the storm, which is a level of stupidity I previously thought impossible. On the other side, a whole lot of regular good people are in trouble too. They're wandering off the path, deep into the Ashen Grove, unable to find their way out again. Compasses don't work anymore, and most people's sense of direction seems akin to that of stale bread. In summary, it's a mess. I recommend staying inside. Don't have to tell me twice. But that does sound quite strange. Strange is one word for it. Bothersome is another. What kind of storm do you think it is? No idea. It's like nothing I've seen before. Got any guesses yourself? It feels somewhat primordial, but maybe that's just the nature of strange storms in general. I certainly haven't gotten any divine visions from the great sea serpent. Granted, he's been very quiet on that front ever since I retired. Primordial, huh? Figures. That explains the frogs. Sorry, the frogs? The frogs in the treehouse. The frogs in the what now? Sorry, I should have clarified. I'm talking about the adventurers who turned into frogs. I'm still lost. Blame the storm. I think I'd rather blame your lack of explanation. Fine, fine. Some adventurers got tangled up in some strangling shrubs. I cut them out of there and agreed to lead them out of the grove. There were 4 of them, each more reckless than the last. It was a hassle leading them back, especially with all those aberration things haunting the storm. Not to mention that the adventurers themselves seemed to lack any sense of perception whatsoever. They almost fell into a ravenous pit. Is that what turned them into frogs? No. What sort of ravenous pit turns people into frogs? When we were passing the boundary of the ancient forest, we ran into more of those aberrations. When we defeated them, they just turned into thick and surprising aggressive fog, and the fog attempted to engulf us entirely. I managed to fight it off, but the adventurers weren't so lucky. It went into their leader's eyes, which then turned a stormy purple, before she suddenly melted into water and got consumed by the storm. I lost sight of the rest of the aberration as other aberrations started appearing, and when I found them again later, they had turned into 3 frogs. That's a fascinating side effect. What did you do with the frog venturers? I picked them up and brought them to Fable's treehouse. Made them a little water bath in the kitchen and locked them in there for now. That way they can't cause any trouble and the windows keep the fog out well enough. Did you leave them some snacks? Of course. Excellent. So what are you going to do to get rid of the storm? Nothing. Do I look like an adventurer to you? Kind of. Just less frog-like. We've still got plenty of bipedal heroes left. I'm sure one of them will take care of it eventually. No need to let it ruin my routine. That's the spirit. I fear you might be underreacting. There are no falling stars this time. Things could be worse. There's still the primordial stars. They could float up. Let's keep it to one calamity at a time this run, Innkeeper. Anyway, I should check on those frogs and make sure no one else got lost. Maybe let the people of Zenith know to stay inside. I'll inform a town crier if I can find one. Stay inside, Innkeeper. Only because you asked so nicely. And I don't want to go outside. There's bugs there. Oh, y'all are back. Hello, Innkeeper. Your brave researchers have returned. Hello. Good to see all of you unharmed and well. Have you added researcher to your resume, Melli? Precisely. I'm an expert professional big brain researcher now. At least that's what Archie said. You did a phenomenal job. Thank you. So I'm kind of triple classing right now. Detective, thief, researcher. But to be honest, I'm already a bit tired of books, and paper, and saliva, and teeth. So I didn't know if the researcher's life is for me. Hold on. Why were there teeth in your research? Oh, they were so cute. Sounds like it'd be a longer story then. Is anyone in dire need of a drink before we weigh in? Or before we begin? Me! I got you. What can I make for you today? Is that a regular or a double? Something fun. So I can tell you all about our adventure better. I think I know what to do. Well, that makes one of us. Okay. What do we want? Okay, something with that. What do we got? Let's do 1,000 Winds. We haven't done that one yet. So what do I have that can increase those in particular? Yeah, we could do this one. I don't need swords, so having a loss of 2 swords doesn't affect it. And then I need 2 shields. There you go, 1,000 Winds. Thank you, Andu. A little fun drink for the cute little swamp witch. Teehee. Ooh, she loves it. I do. But now it's time to tell our story. Very well. Strengthened by your drinks, we headed south through the Moon Swamp towards Mossberry until we could finally spot the sea. There was no city in sight, but we knew underwater wasn't far. Right as we left the swamp and our feet touched the water, the luminous algae did its magic. It formed enormous air bubbles around our heads. I was a bit skeptical at first. I've read about shipwrecks and countless drowned victims after all. But I pulled myself together. To write about life, one must experience it. So I dove into the water head first, and what could I say? My head stayed completely dry. What fantastic magic, really. It looked a bit silly. The bubble adjusted to the size of his hat, not his head. Just the tip of his feather got wet. Meanwhile, Melli's bubble was big enough to fit her whole body inside. Because her legs didn't reach outside of the bubble, she couldn't swim on her own. But Baya managed to pull her along with ease. So, just like underwater did a little over a year ago, we slowly descended. While we were swimming, an unknown world came into view. Fish of all shapes, colors, and sizes. Swarms were starting to change or I'm just noticing that. Swarms of glowing isopods and large monstrous creatures in the distance. The creatures didn't scare you. No, not at all. They didn't look very aggressive to me. Curious, maybe, but they kept their distance. And then we could finally see the gates of underwater. It was like a dream. No, even in my wildest dreams, I couldn't have imagined the beauty of that sunken city. The travertine walls and marble pillars, the gentle magical light that illuminated the city and the dark ocean around it. The myriad of colorful, sometimes ever-glowing sea creatures attracted by the light. It's so much more beautiful than any description I'd read. What a wonderful place. And it's a huge magic bubble. And there I thought my bubble was big. I'm so glad I decided to go with you on such a wonderful adventure. The words and inspiration for my next story flowed to me like gentle waves. I can't wait to write them all down. We entered the city through a huge, special magical seal that keeps the city dry. Melli was the only one of us with dry clothes, though. And I was so very excited to see the Banshee and the Mary Morgan. We quickly met up with them at the inn they were staying at to ask them about the exact location of the mechanism. I showed them my cool puzzle piece. And the Mary Morgan said it definitely looked like the one she saw in the library. I was so excited. I was so close to solving my puzzle. They told us the way to the Corleopherian library. And then we were ready to go. They didn't come with you? No. Apparently they had made reservations for dinner and dancing that night. And we didn't want to interfere with their plans. It was their vacation, after all. But we promised to update them later. After another short walk, we finally reached our destination, the Corleopherian Library. But the whole journey had taken so long that we sadly missed opening hours. Maybe that was for the best. Looking for a puzzle piece in a library brimming with people is probably very difficult. I overheard a conversation between two guards saying that some researchers and security staff were still inside. They were trying to figure out the curse of the library. You know, the mysterious injured visitors and moving inventory and so forth. And, well, all three of us certainly had our fair share of adventures, spells, and monsters. So I introduced myself to the staff. I told them maybe we could be of help. As it turns out, they had actually read my books and heard that they were based on true events. And a swamp witch like me could offer even more possibilities for dealing with various curses. A cute swamp witch, I might add. So after our brief expert pitch, they actually allowed us in. After we made our way inside, we only had to find the second piece of the mechanism. And maybe also help those poor librarians figure out what kind of curse they were dealing with. Have you ever visited the Corlifian Library, Innkeeper? I'm going to say no, not yet, unfortunately. Oh, you really have to. Just the building alone is worth it, let alone all the recipes you can find in there. I'll think about it. The light, polished marble, the organic wood made for such a perfect combination. All those arches and tall bookshelves that towered above us mere mortals. And the highlights of the whole structure was the sun dome. The sun dome? The central part of the library is covered by a gigantic glass dome that fills every nook and cranny with warm sunlight. It's really cool, but it also made me feel very small. You are very small, Melli. When we got in, one of the staff members saw us looking around in awe. She told us they added the dome for better lighting and to instill a sense of normalcy into such an abnormal location. It's also a rather new addition to the library. I found it a bit strange that the renovations seemed to have finished just before the first reports of the alleged book hauntings. Renovation. I really wanted to find the second puzzle piece. So while Archie talked to the librarians, Baya and I started very unsuspiciously looking for the mechanism thingy. We followed the Mary Morgan's description to a T and even found the mildly wet pillow where it was supposed to be displayed on. But it wasn't there. It was frustrating, as if someone deliberately snatched it away right before we could get to it. At that point, I was still talking to the staff. One of them introduced herself as a researcher of ancient spells and magic. And the more we talked, the clearer it became that my suspicion of a correlation between the renovations and the curse was well-founded. Correlation does not always mean causation. Meanwhile, it got darker and darker in the library as the sun was slowly setting. Of course, mere darkness couldn't stop me from searching the whole library. Never underestimate a Vulcaan's night vision. Up until that point, I had tried to keep her in sight, but I kind of lost her in the darkness. I really wish I had better eyesight. I was rummaging through the bookshelves and the books themselves. I mean, the puzzle piece had to be somewhere, right? But then I tried to move a particularly old and heavy leather book. I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my finger. Did the book bite you? Yes, rude, right? Very. It had dozens of long razor-sharp teeth and was nibbling on my finger. Her scream echoed through the whole library. We rushed over to her instantly. But when they arrived, the book had already let go of my finger and fled to a hidden nook. Kind of like it was scared? I told them what had just happened. I feared they wouldn't believe me, but instead I saw a look of realization dawn on my assistant Archie's face. It suddenly all made sense. It was clear as day that the library wasn't dealing with a curse, not in the slightest. Instead, they were dealing with mimics. I don't think I've ever seen anyone proclaim the word so happily before. Well, it was my first time actually seeing one in the wild. Though I would have expected them to look more like treasure chests or doors. But of course, in the environment like that one, books make so much more sense. The staff said they've never had any issues with rodents or other small animals, so that means the mimic must have been living in the library for quite some time. I'm guessing years, if not decades. But all the reports of visitors getting bitten and books moving were pretty recent, right? The staff asked the same question. But luckily, Archie here is a mimic expert. Well, they appear in almost every adventure novel, so I guess my knowledge just accumulated naturally. You see, Innkeeper, some subspecies of mimics are nocturnal. They absolutely despise light. So a dark, moody place like a library is perfect for them. Unless some people decided to add a huge glass dome to let in more light. It's not like all mimics are aggressive by nature. They were just scared. And of course they were. They don't do well with change, and they recently lost their safe home to one with far more light. And if that wasn't enough, the visitors were also picking them up regularly. That's super stressful. If I were a mimic, I would also start biting people. Honestly, I really felt sorry for them. And so did the staff. But we still needed a solution for the biting issue, obviously. While we were discussing all of that, I could still hear the mimic that was biting me shuffling in the corner. It was so scared of us that I felt bad for screaming so loudly earlier. So I tried to calm it down for her. I'd never met a creature like that before. But they talk a similar frequencies as plants, so we understood each other right away. What a unique and fascinating way to communicate. The librarians were equally in awe. I explained our situation and assured the mimic that we weren't there to hurt them. And with our combined powers as great detectives, authors, and mimic whisperers, we found a solution. They obviously couldn't undo the renovations. Also, the residents loved the glass dome. But to help the mimics feel more at ease, we needed a bit more shade in the library again. So Bea transformed the whole east wing into a botanical garden. It was a fantastic sight. I'd never seen such diverse flora pop up out of nowhere before. Not nowhere. I just nicely asked the tiny algae and spores in the joints if they would like to grow. And they were so eager to grow. It took the mimics approximately half a minute before they explored their new abode. We could hear the rustling of paper throughout the whole library. They loved it. One even came over to thank us. It was the one that bit me. I'd recognize that purple book cover anywhere. It was very grateful and said the whole colony liked their new home. And it also wanted to give us something. You'll never guess what it was, Innkeeper. A bone, a tooth. I'm gonna go with a bone. From some unlucky finger or creature that didn't get off so easily? You have a wild imagination, huh? You couldn't be more wrong. Too bad. What was it then? It was the second puzzle piece. Turns out, in their distress, they thought it was edible. I never knew mimics could be so nice. I suppose it's now up to me to change their bad reputation. Sounds like a plan, and a very successful adventure. It gets even better. The librarians and I spent a few hours studying the mechanism. And we figured out it was supposed to be a sour trope. A zoetrope? Exactly. The upper part has tiny holes in it. The light emitted by the fire spirit shines through and projects moving pictures of lights onto the walls. And apparently the fire spirit is called the Tempest. It's a powerful fire spirit created by Leviathan. It's associated with, well, fire, passion, affection, somehow, and listens to this, storms. The librarians handed us an ancient tome full of information on it. The books contain a dramatic short story about massive storms in the primordial sea that were summoned by upsetting the Tempest. Presumably, because Melli opened its enclosure, it got exposed to a world very different from Leviathan's domain, which made it upset. We think the zoetrope was its home, but it's broken, and the spirit has no idea where it is. It's all very scary. Since zoetrope is old and broken right now, we can't just put the spirit back. Obviously, we need to fix it, so we could let the Tempest return to it if we wanted to. But we needed to head back to the surface first. We said goodbye to the librarians and books and mimics, of course. And Baya also picked up a postcard to update the Mary Morgan, as well as a souvenir for Fable's brother, Corinder. Yes, I got Orlander some coral sprigs. That's quite lovely. Indeed, but by then I was almost already the next morning. We were quite tired, but I was also at least equally worried about the drink's effects wearing off. We definitely need to get back to the surface as soon as we could, or else we would be stuck and underwater. As soon as we got back to the barrier's seal, the bubbles returned. They were already a bit more translucent than before, but we still had enough time to get back. Or so we thought. That doesn't sound very promising. It was horrible. At first, I could see the bubble around me cracking like broken glass. And then water started rushing in. It was so cold and wet. I hate being wet. Luckily, we had already made it pretty close to the surface. Baya's kelp strands quickly pulled us toward the surface and helped us swim back to shore. But the weird storm made it very difficult to navigate. Even though I'd read so much about how to always find north, I was completely lost. And, well, we accidentally swam east instead of north. I was really confused where my swamp had gone, or why there was such a huge city in front of us. But I'd recognize that skyline anywhere. We were accidentally stranded in Zoford. You know, I've been back to the city a few more times since my quest there, so I knew a pretty solid tavern where we could spend the night. It was a recommendation from the familiars. In the morning, we sat down to discuss our next steps. I really wanted to fix the zoetrope, but when I pulled it out of my pocket... Uh-oh. It must have come into contact with the sea when we swam back to the surface. The water seeping into some of the cracks must have corroded parts of the ancient metal. Several pieces of it probably broke off while we were swimming. Now they're lost in the ocean somewhere. And our two parts don't fit together anymore. I really wanted to fix it. We weren't sure what to do, so we came back here. Innkeeper, could I maybe order a drink now? Of course. Do you already have a drink in mind? Yes, I would like to order a hot chocolate. One hot chocolate coming right. Ah, wait. I would like an extra fancy hot chocolate, like with glitter or a marshmallow on top. Sadly, I'm fresh out of marshmallows. Oh. But I could substitute some of those ghost berries. They pop in your mouth when bitten into and add a fun twist to your drink. Oh. Yes, I'd love some of those. Very well. Alright. So, we are going to do hot chocolate. We don't even need to do that because we're going to come up here. They do want ghost berries. Let's look at that. So, yeah, she wants hot chocolate. And we suggested ghost berries. Do I need to? Yeah, I need to click on that. Because I need to draw the recipe. One shield. And 3 of these. Maybe 4. Yeah, because that... Thank you, Andu. Okay. Yeah, because this gives us a minus, so we have to actually do 4 of these up. So we're just gonna do that. There's our hot chocolate. Complete with ghost berries. Well, look, it's got marshmallows. How's your hot chocolate? I love it. It's sweet and warm and perfect. I just had an idea. The zoetrope is made of citron and ancient metal and seems connected to the dragons, right? What if you just reforged the pieces you lost with a little bit of divine help? We forged a powerful sword once. A zoetrope might require some more finesse, but it isn't necessarily harder to do. Now that you mention it. But isn't Miss Rhea exploring the caves of with Kyle at the moment? If I remember correctly, it was her who forged Kaylin's legendary weapon. That's true. I don't think we were able to reach her anytime. I don't think we'll be able to reach her anytime soon. But maybe Una can help. She's an engineer, and she's very smart and good with metal. I want to argue with that, but I can't. And if we need divine help, we can go to that dragon temple in the Highlands. The one that doesn't have the ever-burning flame anymore, but they should still know a thing or two about forging divine things. Maybe they'll even have secret ancient metal or a modern substitute. Ooh, I've been to that temple. It's a very cold place with a very large greva. Greva? But it's definitely worth a try. Do you actually think we can fix this? I'm scared that I messed up big time and that the storm might be here forever and that's all my fault. Yeah, there's always a solution. Sure, sometimes fixing a mistake can result in unforeseen changes. But without change, we would never grow. Plus, not so long ago, you helped stop the world from ending. I think you've got this. How about you start by visiting the Varakan Dragon Temple? You can figure things out from there. Thank you, Innkeeper, for believing in me. I'll go ask Una for help. I'm sure she'll have some fun ideas. Sounds like a plan. See you later, Innkeeper. Good luck. I think I should follow her. I'm scared she'll get lost in the storm. I'll also have to check in on Voy and my aunts. Take good care of yourself, Baya. Will do. And you? Up for a trip to the Highlands and building a snowman? No, I fear this might be the end of my adventure for me. Or end of the adventure for me. I have to meet Theo's parents tomorrow morning. I wouldn't want to miss that. Who knows how many tea and cake days we have left together. But please, do let me know about the results of their quest. You can count on me. Thank you very much. But before I leave, after all the talking, I'm in dire need of a drink, dear Innkeeper. Of course. Anything specific in mind? Maybe something that'll steal my vocal cords for recruiting more assistants to protect me from sore throat tomorrow? Leave it to me. Alright, what do we want? This is usually my go-to one. But I'm trying to see if there's anything. Okay, so I could do this one. First snow. Let's do that with... Thought I had an infusion of a snowflake. Let's see. What do we got? Let's see. Now that gives those 2 pluses. That gives 2 pluses there. So yeah, we could do this one, or do I want... No, I don't need intelligence. So we'll just go through and do... There, we've already got that one, so we just need 3 shield. There, first snow. Thank you, Andu. This one's a cool one because it's got a little snow. Liquid steel just for you. Thank you so much. This is exactly what I needed. I can already feel the itching in my throat subsiding. Until then, innkeeper. We have another quest. The winter weather post invisibility. Okay. So Melli's mysterious puzzle seems to have something to do with the dragons themselves, as does the angry fire spirit she freed. No biggie. The wind and weather patterns seem to be changing. Visibility is dropping. The compass is starting. Nothing to worry about, surely. The zoetrope is broken, but not beyond repair. Maybe all it needs is a stubborn. I don't know if we need to do all three of them. Nope. Okay, so we do have to have all three of them. I'm going to do it that way. So one zoetrope to rule them all. The mechanism is delicately crafted zoetrope, as well as the spirit that inhabited it, seems to be rooted in the realms of the great dragons. The zoetrope appears to be broken, but perhaps not beyond repair. A competent team is needed to seek out the priests and their divine forge in Verica to aid in the reassembling the Tempest home. Perhaps that will soothe its wrath.